Welcome to the Evening Review. I'm your host, Ashwin Mbedi, and I am absolutely honored to be joined in studio by UN Resident Coordinator, Ms. Hopolang Phororo. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. As well as Ms. Naouar Labidi, who is the WFP Country Director and Representative, who is also the UN Chair Communications, head of the Chair of the UN Communication Group. There it is. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Labidi. All right, wonderful. As you can see, I like to be a person who's generally aware of the space I'm in, and anytime you have to describe titles such as yourselves, ladies, my humility will come naturally. Thank you very much for joining us, and we are here to talk about United Nations at 80. For our audience, I am very sure we are fully aware of the United Nations. Others may easily consider them the glue that sticks a lot of countries together, especially with regards to development and safety. And today we are talking about UN at 80, and also those celebrations will be in Namibia. But first, let's start abroad, Ms. Phororo. UN is celebrating 80 years globally. What does this milestone mean, not just for the world, but particularly for Namibia?
Good afternoon, and thank you, Ashwin, for giving us this opportunity to come and share a little bit on what UN at 80 means. So, as you have said, and I really would like to pick from there, is that we are the glue that brings countries together, no matter what size the country is. But since 1945, 80 years ago, we have been doing this and bringing countries together and doing what no one country could ever do. So Namibia has been part of the UN, and this UN at 80 for us is really a celebration and a renewal of purpose for the institution itself. And what I would like to also mention is that, where we are right now with the UN, there's a lot of attack, and the attack of particularly the principles of the United Nations. And also too, the conflicts continue. Climate change continues, hunger, poverty, all that continues, and we are really far from meeting all the targets of the SDGs. So I would like to also pick up one quotation which I think is so apt for the conversation that we are having today, and I'm quoting our Secretary General. And he says, "We are moving towards a multipolar world, but without strong multilateral institutions, multipolarity has its risks. As Europe learned in the First World War, to meet these challenges, we must not only defend the United Nations, we must strengthen it." That is the purpose of Agenda 2030, the Pact for the Future, and the UN 80 initiative to renew the foundations of international cooperation and ensure that we can deliver for people everywhere. So taking what our SG has said and bringing it down to Namibia, the UN has been with Namibia from the time of its independence, and even as we continue to engage right now with the UN, with the government of the Republic of Namibia. And what we are basically looking at is how are we working together to help Namibia to achieve the priorities which have been articulated in their various national development plans. And whether we are talking of governance, equality, social transformation, because these are areas, broad areas where we've been working together, this, I think, demonstrates then our commitment, and as well as Namibia's commitment to multilateralism. So really, as you ask and say, what does this milestone mean for Namibia and the world? It means basically that we have to continue to engage with the Namibian government. Of course, the institution being relevant, agile, for us to be able to meet the changing landscape as we see it.
Yes, thank you for that. Very, very well said. And I do feel like the quote from Secretary General Antonio Guterres was also, very reflective of the times. And I have to be very honest. I didn't expect that much frankness, and I truly appreciate that without a doubt. Now, the theme is 80 voices for 80 years, and I think that it is absolutely powerful. What inspired this theme, and how does it possibly reflect Namibia's journey with the United Nations?
Thank you for that as well. So the theme really was trying to look at what the UN has been supporting the government of Namibia for the past 8 years. So we tried then to get the 80 voices for 8 years. And then looking along the whole life, let me say the life cycle, young people, youth, adults, elderly, and to get their understanding of how they have seen the work the work that the UN has been doing in Namibia, in terms of achievements, in terms of some of the challenges, in terms of the hope. So it was really trying to be inclusive of the entire population of the Namibian country, of Namibia, because especially when we say we started the journey with Namibia during independence, when you look for somebody 70s, 80s, they know what the role the UN played then. And when you look at a young person, they can say, oh yeah, we've heard this. And when you look at the younger ones, then they also might be a bit, have their own perspectives, as well as looking at those who are living with disabilities. So it was not just saying, let's just take one segment of the population, but let's look across the entire spectrum and pick a few voices. So that is really what inspired that.
Truly powerful, truly powerful. Now, a word you used there was inclusivity, and I'd like to use that as a segue to include Ms. Labidi into the conversation. You did speak on United Nations being with Namibia, especially throughout the journey from independence. Ms. Labidi, I would like to ask, what do you feel? How do you feel the United Nations has contributed to Namibia's development since independence?
Thank you again, and good afternoon to you. So, as you rightly mentioned, I think the journey has been since independence to nowadays, and I think the UN has been a reliable and consistent partners in addressing the challenges for development in a country like Namibia. So, I think since 1990, the focus has been on supporting the country in building strong institutions, shaping inclusive policies, and advancing also human developments, I think, in all the efforts in achieving the sustainable development goals, which make it, we hope, a long-standing and trusted partner of both the government and the people of Namibia. So that's, I think that's very important that we are part, actually. I think we see ourselves as part. Namibia is part of the UN community, and we are part also of the development challenges in these countries. So over the past decades, I would say, I think the UN has helped to develop more than 50 national policies and strategies, and in different critical sectors, in health and social protection, education, food security and nutrition, governance and data, economic empowerment, climate action, gender equality and human rights. So some examples, for example, in the health sector, there have been strengthening the response to the HIV/AIDS response. There have been also laying the foundations and the groundwork for the universal health coverage. So those are some of the achievements in those areas. In education, a lot of work has been to support the early childhood development, the inclusive education again, and the new education reform strategies. Food security and nutrition, there was also the development of the food security and nutrition policy. But beyond that, I think a lot of work is happening also on trying to promote and to improve productivity, agricultural productivity, the fight against malnutrition in its form, response to crisis. Unfortunately, we have seen also crisis, and there is a response there. So those are examples on what we are doing, and in climate, the climate change. I mean, I think you have mentioned it as well. It's also working on biodiversity conservation and green transitions, and there is helping the partnership with the Global Environment Facility and the Green Climate Fund. I mean,
Yes.
those are some of the key. And I mean, I'm not missing the other, but I really do
Yes.
want to stop a little bit my list because it's a long list. But
Yes.
maybe let's look at it. We have a tool, and it's our UN Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework that was approved last year. And that is our main, I think, engagement. We have more than 20 UN entities.
Yes.
Some based in Namibia, some are based in the region or outside, but providing the support and working together. And we have a number of 4 pillars for
Yes.
which we are working also on those. So I mean, those
Yes.
are the main
Yes,
things
yes.
that we are doing in the country. So I mean, the pillar that we are looking at, it's the effective governance and public service delivery. It's one pillar. The second one is economic recovery, transformation, and resilience. The other one is sustainable development and green growth.
Yeah.
And the last one is human development and community resilience. All these priorities are aligned with the national development priorities, the National Development Plan, the NDP6, the Pact for the Future. And I think, in short, I mean, the UN continue to be committed to support the Namibian government and the Namibian people in addressing some of the challenges related to some of these development challenges.
Indeed.
Yes.
And you know, the presence has indeed been palpable. Allow me to bring back just the global aspect of it all. If we say the United Nations has been in existence for 80 years, that means even you yourself, the workers of the United Nations, inherited the United Nations, you know, from a previous generation. Now we're looking at the statement transforming the United Nations for the future. Very briefly, what does that mean in practice?
Very briefly, I mean, I think there isn't a surprise to no one that this word is changing, that we are losing a little bit some of our, let's say, standards or
mutual values.
Yeah, exactly. So for us and for the UN, for all of us, I think for the UN to be able to continue, we need to also reform.
Yes.
Actually, and the reform is a little bit more, it's more about changing the way we think and we work. It's not necessarily about our mandate or what we are supposed to do. I mean, we'll continue to support in addressing the development challenges and so forth, but it's really, we're moving away from a traditional approaches that we have been doing to more agile. I think we already mentioned it before.
Yes.
Responsive, accountable organization.
All right.
We need to pay.
If I may just interrupt you there. Responsive and accountable organization. We're going to come back and continue on that thought. This is the Evening Review.
Tourism is the flagship travel and tourism program on network television NTV. Continues to inspire viewers with its stunning portrayal of Namibia's landscapes, people and travel experiences, while also expanding its lens to explore destinations beyond the country's borders. It explores various tourist destinations, providing viewers with in-depth coverage of locations, events, and experiences. The show presents detailed insights into destinations, cultural highlights, and travel tips to engage both local and international audiences. Each episode showcases the beauty, culture, and adventure that define Namibia while highlighting the individuals and communities that drive the tourism industry forward. In recent seasons, the program has extended its coverage to include regional destinations in neighboring countries. Tourismus, your favorite travel show, can be found on our website, oneup2.com.
Welcome to Chill Session, your ultimately week of local beats, culture, and pure vibes. We're shining the spotlight on homegrown talent, exclusive performance, and stories behind the sound. From hip-hop to Afro fashions, we have got it all. Sit back, turn up, and let's vibe. This is Chill Session.
UN at 80 is the subject of our conversation, as I am here with Ms. Hopolang Phororo, UN resident coordinator, as well as Ms. Naouar Labidi, who is the WFP country representative and director, and also, and this time I'm going to get it right, chair of the UN Communication Group. Wonderful.
Thank
so
you.
we were talking about transforming the UN in the future and what it means. Do continue.
So just to continue, I mean, it's, as I said, it's a mindset shifting, and it's more about delivering results that are relevant, timely, and impactful. I think that's where the focus is. And if we talk about, in many places, and Namibia specifically, this transformation means that we move away from a model focused on aid delivery, on the pure aid delivery, but towards a model that builds on knowledge, data, capacity, and empowering countries to lead their own development journeys, with the UN playing a supportive, enabling role.
All right.
So that's the shift that is really reinforced by the UN, the initiative like the UN 80 and the Pact for the Future, which it's a modernization actually of the UN to have it more effective and more people-centered as well.
People-centered. It is, and I mean, it is an understandable shift without a doubt. It sounds like it's a more sustainable way. I think you have something else to say.
No, if you allow me, I also have a quote from Miss Cristina Duarte, who is the UN Special Advisor on Africa. And she said, the UN's value today lies not in delivering aid, but in providing trusted policy advice, technical expertise, and institutional capacity, helping countries like Namibia unlock their full potential. So that's what we see ourselves, especially, I said, in those type of countries. I mean, of course, I think the UN will continue to play a role in peace and stability in fragile contexts, in delivering maybe humanitarian assistance in acute crisis. But in most of the countries, and the country that we are here in, I think that's the role that we see ourselves.
All right, and one of the words that you used to describe your priorities right now was relevant. Because a lot of people can come up with many different ways to develop a country, but if it's not relevant, it's not going to be impactful. And in order to ensure relevance, there has to be a sense of knowing, a sense of research and understanding the space in which you're operating. So I do have to ask, how does the new cooperation framework align with Namibia's priorities?
It's a very good question. I think from the from the design phase, the consultation has been to really align it with what is the vision. At that time, the NDP 6 was not yet launched, but I think we had the white paper, and we had a number of things with the vision 2030, and and all the consultation, close consultation with the different line ministries and different sections and segments of the population and of the stakeholders that we have in Namibia. So that's very important. So I mean, I think it's we want it to be a nationally owned framework that really completely mirror. It's our support to the government plan, to the country's plan.
Yes, indeed. And ensuring that relevance that we spoke about. Now, we keep speaking the words new. We keep using the words future, which means in general we're talking about the youth. And so my next question would be, youth and inclusion are obviously central to the United Nations work. How is the UN engaging the next generation? And the next generation is very active, very bold.
Yes. Thank you for that very good question. And of course, you cannot be in any dialogue without talking about young people.
Absolutely.
So maybe just to pull from where Naouar ended with the cooperation framework, that when we developed it, we were being very intentional that we were going to put young people at the center of it. And we were also going to make sure that, other populations, which probably we've talked about, but we have not really brought them in. We were also going to make them a focus of our cooperation framework. So of course, now once we had the results from the census, which was undertaken, and we saw that, youth unemployment, for example, is such a big challenge, with almost, I think, 40% or more than 40% of the young people, unemployed. So that became, of course, then an issue which we said, how do we address it? And as you said yourself, is young people are dynamic, they are creative, determined to drive change. Yes, where they are talking of the digital space, or wherever you look at, you address the issues. Yesterday, interestingly, I was at the Bank of Namibia FinTech Futures, and there it was again about young people.
Yes.
How do we bring young people into the space in terms of entrepreneurship, etc.? So for us as the UN, we realize that we need them. We need young people. But when we talk also meaningfully engage them, what do we mean by that? So we said, okay, this time we want to do things a little differently as we implement our cooperation framework. So we have now recently identified a youth advisory group, which is comprising a number of young people who are really there to advise us on terms of our programs under the cooperation framework. Where are we missing it? What do you see as we putting, or addressing the issues around young people? Of course, there are agencies, like UNFPA, which has been dealing with young people, UNICEF as well, young people. So FAO, so agencies have been working with young people, but we said, okay, how do we bring it under a more consolidated bracket, and hence the Youth Advisory Group. So we're really excited about this group, and we feel that they will give us good advice in terms of how we can implement our programs, including them. And to say, for example, we do have a number of initiatives where we have UN for You, for example. We are also even going to the schools as well to engage the younger ones now on the SDGs. And we've had sessions with them, and it's amazing how much they already know about the SDGs. So it's really being really inclusive and being targeted and being intentional about engaging young people in our work, whether it's digital transformation, equality, climate change, employment, etc. Then also just to say that we do have our roadmap, which is the Pact for the Future. And if you look closely at the document, it recognizes young people as the co-architects of tomorrow.
Yes.
But of course, we are not going to say youth are the future, youth are today.
They're the present.
Right? But then that's really to continue working, with other partners to ensure that when we are talking about decision making, we are not just using words, because, sometimes we use these words, but we are not really ensuring that we are bringing them around the table to make decisions with us.
All right. Very powerful. And certainly, I had a look at the individuals, the youth that you brought together. Just knowing a lot of them from Namibian society, you couldn't have chosen a better group. And it's really reflective of an intentional quality to your work. And so I would like you to please... we've been talking to each other, it's an opportunity to talk to the camera and just share a message with Namibians as the UN marks 8 years.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And really what I would like just to really say is that, 8 years on, the UN still continues to remain as a great organization that it was intended to be. And it does what no other institution can do, bringing countries together to tackle global challenges that no nation can face alone. Of course, the world has changed. This is what we've been talking about, and hence the need for reform, because the UN has to change with what the world is now demanding. And as we say that then, is that the principles that underpin the United Nations, peace, human rights, equality, solidarity, these are as relevant today as they were then. And perhaps even more so. I would even say more so than then. Yes? So for the UN to have come this far really has been a collective achievement. And every member state, including Namibia, has helped shape its journey. And as we celebrate the 80-year milestone, it's a moment to pause with gratitude and also with hope. Because what got us here, our shared belief in cooperation and humanity, is what is going to take us further together. We are just going through a storm, but as we go through the storm, there's still something good ahead of us. Not in the same old way,
Yes.
a reformed one.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Hopolang Phororo, UN Resident Coordinator, and Ms. Naouar Labidi, who is the Chair of the UN Communications Group, as well as the
Thank you.
WFP Country Director Representative. We truly appreciate your presence here as United Nations celebrates 80 years. And I'm going to end this broadcast with 2 words that I picked from your statement: further together. Good night.